Sorry about that, babe.
The Lucky Dime Caper on the Sega Master System is a game that never saw its release stateside. Luckily, the Sega Master System is region-free. I felt like playing another Master System game from the backlog and happened my way onto the Lucky Dime Caper starring Donald Duck. Being a fan of the 8 and 16-bit era Disney games, I felt like this would be a surefire hit. Right? The Lucky Dime Caper was released in December of 1991 in Europe and PAL territory for the Sega Master System, as well as Brazil in February of 1992. It's an action platformer starring the Disney Duck Crew, so you already know it's probably going to be solid. The evil witch Magica Dispel snuck into Scrooge McDuck's quarters and stole his #1 dime. Along with that, she also stole Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So now it's up to you as Donald to travel around the world rescuing not only his nephews, but that lucky dime. Donald will traverse through a myriad of areas such as woods, forests, mountains, islands, pyramids, the South Pole, and finally, Magica's spooky castle. The gameplay is fairly simple. Make your way to the end of the screen, encounter a new screen or two, and then ultimately you fight a boss. Donald is armed with a hammer, which will be your primary weapon, as well as a jumping ability similar to that of the jumping attack from Castle of Illusion on the Genesis. Please note, I haven't played the Sega Master System version, but it's probably similar there as well. And there's also a speedier throwing disc weapon, which, honestly, kinda sucks. You're way better off with the hammer. Item drops are obtained by defeating 2 enemies in a row. The drops consist of things that are not super useful, such as the differing gems and jewels, stars, which if you collect 5, grant a brief period of invincibility, and ultimately the most important item drops, which are weapons if you were previously hit, or 1-ups in the form of Donald's head. There are plenty of areas in which you could farm items of your choosing, with probably the most important being a weapon drop if you were previously hit. I failed to mention that Donald sorta starts out with a health bar of 2. While weaponed up, you could take a hit, lose your weapon, and then still have 1 hit remaining with your butt slam arsenal. I highly advise to never pick up the disc, as the hammer makes most boss fights, including the final one, trivial. The disc is much weaker, and even though it's faster, it's technically slower because it doesn't hit as hard as the hammer. The graphics are typical Master System. When played on an RGB setup or something like the analog Mega SG, they pop like crazy. Unfortunately, my Mega SG died recently, so this recording is through a Sega Genesis Model 2 with the SMS adapter utilizing RGB SCART to HDMI Retrotink through my Elgato, where the colors now are not nearly as eye-catching. Overall though, still some solid graphics, especially for the time. I find that the soundtrack does its job, although it's not entirely memorable. Where the game starts to lose some points in my eyes lies solely in the control and difficulty sectors. First, the controls take some time to get used to. It's hard to explain, but there were many times during my playthrough where Donald seemed borderline uncontrollable from a speed standpoint. Also, the game implements a very annoying ledge mechanic where Donald would do his best to not fall off a ledge, but this greatly hinders performance in some heavy platforming areas. Yes, this will take some time to get used to. It's the sort of thing that you really need to play to quote-unquote get it, and it was a poor design choice for a game that relies on platforming most of the time. They really shouldn't have thrown almost artificial difficulty in on that aspect. Or perhaps it was just a design oversight that became difficult by accident. The next negative is the difficulty. The game isn't overly hard with lots of practice, but I find that the pacing and level design is all over the place. The game is split into groups of 3 levels, then 3 more, and then the final castle. The first group of 3 features 2 levels that are incredibly short, with one being almost 2 times the length of the previous levels. And the design just takes an odd turn with 2 on-rail platforming segments. It's just kinda weird. It feels very helter-skelter in the nature in which these levels were composed, and saying that the differing settings are a welcomed addition. Perhaps I went into this game with too high of expectations, having previously played great titles such as Castle of Illusion, Quackshot, and stuff like DuckTales. Not that this is a bad game, but it's a tad underwhelming. This game could be a bit frustrating with some aforementioned poor platforming and ledge mechanics, sort of random level design and difficulty spikes, and all in all it's kinda short when you know what you're doing. That being said, it does have the Disney aesthetic, the Master System popping graphics, a decent soundtrack, and is overall well presented. I give the Lucky Dime Caper starring Donald Duck on the Sega Master System a 6.5 out of 10. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's still a good game worthy of a playthrough. If you've enjoyed this review, please consider leaving a like, a comment, and subscribing. I do my best to reply to all comments on all videos, and if you're interested in the realm of retro gaming, I have a little bit of everything for you. Until next time.